Drew Massey here with Game Time Sports and Training, and I want to take you through our box jump progression. Box jumps get a bad rap sometimes because of what happens at the shin. People can kind of scrape that shin and leave part of themselves on the box, on the edge of the box if they're not careful. We try to limit the risk that is associated with box jumps by having a really nice progression for our athletes, and hopefully those things won't happen. So this is kind of how we go through this. The first thing we want to do is teach the athlete how to land. That's the number one thing that we want to do as coaches, is to teach them how to land in proper positioning, using their hips to load, and also making sure that the knees track the right way and that the numbers are up and they're not in a bad back position. So the first thing we're going to do is teach the athlete how to land, and many times we'll pull out just a dot, or we'll pull out a baseball base, like something that you could purchase at any sporting goods store, and we want to tell that athlete that's a trap door. That's a trap door, and when I yank that trap door out, then they've got to get on the edges of that so that they don't fall through there. So we're going to yank that trap door out, and what we want to do is have the athlete kind of drop into what was going to look like a good squat position. So if I was the athlete, then I would be here and my coach would tell me, go, or I'm pulling the trap door out, whatever cue you wanted to use. And now I'm just going to simply adjust my feet. I'm not going to jump up. I'm just going to adjust my feet to get on the edges. So this great athletic position is one that we call a numbers up position. So if you had a jersey on, we want to see your numbers. So numbers up, all right? The other thing we want to do is we want to make sure that those hips are pushed back. Those knees are kind of shot forward a little bit, and we've got great ankle dorsiflexion, because that's going to act like a spring in case I want to jump up. So we want to make sure that that landing is nice and solid. And many times we'll have the athlete hold that position for 10 seconds and actively tell them to spread the ground apart, and this is going to turn on the muscles of their hips. A lot of athletes find this isometric position really challenging, so that's the first thing we want to teach. The second thing we want to do, the reason for the box jump, a lot of people just think it's a summation of force to see how high you can get. The reason that the box is valuable is it decreases the amount of gravitational force that the athlete has to undergo as they land. So it actually decreases those ground reaction forces that the athlete has to go through in that landing portion, because again, landing is super important. The other thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is we want to make sure the athlete is jumping, and not just jumping and driving the hips. We've all seen people that can jump on really high boxes, and a lot of times if you slow the video down, they may not be jumping actually quite that high. They're just really, really good at pulling that knee up to their chest and getting that round position. So we want the athlete to start in the same position as they land in. So if I'm going to do a box jump, I'm going to be away from the box. Obviously, I want to make sure that it's a box that I know my athlete can hit via other testing or whatever. We don't want to challenge that. We're going to put them in that position. So again, trap door. And then as we go, this is our isometric or our non-counter movement box jump. We're going to tell the athlete to jump or explode, load and explode. So load, explode, and we want to land in the same position that we started from. Then what I really like to do is have the athlete step off to the side and then step down, as opposed of going onto the box and then jumping backwards off a box. I think that when you jump backwards off a box, you run the risk of kind of catching that toe or catching that shin, just as you would if you gave an athlete too high of a box, and that's going to be a risk too. So we've kind of got a little three-tiered system set up. So if I have an athlete, if I've got a group of athletes, and they're going to be able to pick, am I going to go with this box or this box? And again, I've got something that they can step onto. So again, the box jump is a summation of force. We want to teach the athlete to be explosive, but also we want to make sure that we understand the risks that are associated with box jumps and try to minimize those risks as much as we can. So we're going to be in that good athletic position, isometric hold, load, explode. Then we're going to step off and come back. Now if we want a little bit more reaction, if we try that isometric for a little while and we want a little bit more reactive strength from that athlete, then what we may do is we may have the athlete start with his hands up, and then we're going to load by throwing our hands into the ground, and then a quick reaction off the ground. Our cue for this is tell the athlete to get off the ground quick. We want to get off the ground quick. So arms up, and then we have one cue, load and explode. Pop, pop, again, we want to land in the same position that we're going to start in, and then we would come off the box. So if I were going to do a set of 3, I would obviously go through my other 2 reps. But that's the way we want to teach athletes to be explosive, but also minimize those risks that can be associated with some of those exercises.